Hi friends, welcome to the Goddess Crochet YouTube channel. My name is Joanna and today I'll be showing you how to make an easy ribbed dishcloth out of cotton. The written pattern can be found on my website goddesscrochet.com, and I will try and remember to put a link in the description box below. So what you'll need is some worsted weight cotton yarn, pair of scissors, crochet hook in size I or H. J might be a little bit too big. I also like to have on hand bobby pins. They're extremely helpful, especially if you're a beginner, to keep track of the first and last stitch of your rows so you don't accidentally miss a stitch. If you see your cloth starting to shrink, you know that you've probably missed a stitch somewhere along the edges. So let's get started. First I'm gonna take care of this yarn barf. Okay, let's make a slip knot. The way I like to make my slip knot is I take the tail end, wrap it twice around my pointer finger and hold it with your thumb and middle finger. Pull the back loop over, then take this new back loop and pull it all the way over your finger. That is my favorite way to do a slip knot. Okay, now put your hook in there. And if you want to, go ahead and print out the directions that are on the website. If not, we can just follow along, and if I go too fast for you, please feel free to pause. So first thing, we're going to chain 26. 1, 2, 3. Okay, are you with me? I have 26 chains. Go ahead and pause if you need to. So next, we're going to go into the back bump of the second chain from the hook. So if I can turn that over, not this one, but this one, okay? So if you need to, take your fingernail and kind of scoot it right over till you get in there. Oops. Come on, little buddy. Okay. That's one single crochet. Now I'm going to take and put my stitch marker in there just for good measure. Boop, right in the top. Not on the loop, but in the V's, okay? So hook back in the loop. We're going to go into the next back bump and do a single crochet. See how I'm going in the back bump? I know for the advanced crocheters, they're like, yeah, I know what the back bump is. But beginners, we were all beginners once. Okay, so usually you're going in through that front and you're like going to use one of those loops when you first go in, but today we're using the back bump. So single crochet all the way along that back bump. We're single crocheting in the back bump. Okay, we're almost there, kind of. If I were a professional, I'd be like, here is a time lapse of me doing it, but you're doing it too, so we'll just sit here and single crochet together. How was your day, darling? Are you having a good one? Is it better if I move this out of the way? If you find that single crocheting into the back bump is a little bit too much for you, you can go under the regular loop that you do. It's just going to make it a little bit difficult in the end when we're doing this edging to get into the stitch, but it's not impossible, so do what you feel comfortable with. Okay, we've gotten to the end. Let's count. Count your stitches, make sure you have 25. Okay. $25 stitches, good to go. Okay, so we're going to chain one and turn our work. Okay, now we're going to go into both loops of the first stitch, so right there, and do a single crochet. If you have another bobby pin, you might want to put it in there. I'm not going to, we'll just live on the wild side. Okay, so for almost the rest of the stitches, except for that last one, we're going to go into the back bump only. We're not going to go into both stitches, okay? And that's going to make that nice ribbed effect on both sides. So, next stitch, back bump only, not going through, just going in that guy, okay? We'll do single crochet almost to the end. Okay, so I've single crocheted across in all the back loops and I've come to this last stitch here. So for this last stitch, we want to make sure that we go in both loops, okay? So we're gonna, and because I have the lovely bobby pin here that helps me hold on to it, I'm gonna go through both loops, okay? And do a single crochet. Now we're going to do what we just did 23 more times until we get 25 rows, okay? So let's do one more row together and then I'll come back when we're near to the end, okay? So we're going to do one more row. We chain up one and turn. Again, we're going to go through both loops, okay, of the first stitch only. And I'm going to go ahead and take my bobby pin and move it up to that first stitch, okay. Now for the rest of the row, we're going to go into the back loop only, except for that last stitch. That last stitch will do 2 loops, go through both loops. Okay, so first stitch down, now we're going through the back loops. There we go. 1, 2, 3, single crochet in those back loops all the way across. Then don't forget that last stitch is both loops. Remember to check your count, especially if you don't have a stitch marker in, because it's so easy to lose that last stitch, okay? Even for experienced crocheters, we definitely can lose stitches at the end of our rows, so make sure you have 25 across each time. And go ahead and do this a bunch and come back to me when you think you've counted 25 rows, and then I'll show you how to count. Super easy to see how many rows you have. We'll double check together, and then we will finish this lovely pot holder easy rib dishcloth off. Okay, so here I am at the very end. I'm going to go through both loops. Okay, come back to me in a little while. Have a sip of tea or coffee. I'll see you back here. Hi there. Hope you enjoyed crocheting your 25 rows. I have an easy trick for you to figure out how many rows that you've done when you do a single crochet in the back loop like this. So you can see the little bumps. You can see how that's kind of one row right here, and if you flip it over, you can see the bump is accentuated on the second row. So you can use that as your counting by twos line. So you start on this side, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and then you see there's an extra little bit sticking up, so that's 25. Always start counting on the row that has 2, not the single. You can see the difference. Okay, so we're going to finish off this dishcloth nicely with a edge of single crocheting and a loop if you'd like. But we're going to start by chaining 1 and turning. Technically this would be row 26 or round 26 now that we're working in the round. In that first stitch right here, after we've turned, we're going to put 3 single crochets. I'm going to stop a second and take my trusty bobby pin and put it in that first stitch that we made, just so I know exactly where I'm going to be slip stitching to in the end after we've made a lovely finishing. Okay, so we're gonna, you could see where the stitches are on this side, super easy. So all you have to do is single crochet until each stitch along the end, and then in this last one we're gonna work 3 just to make a nice corner. So this should be 23 stitches right here. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't want to listen to me count. We'll just work our way to the end. You can count on your own. Quite sure of it. Plus, don't you hate when you're counting and like somebody else is counting and it's not the same number that you're counting? Oops. We're almost to the end. Okay, so we're going in both loops of all these stitches around, we got to this last one. This would be number 24. After you've gotten to 23 stitches, so this is going to be the corner, and we're going with 3 single crochet right into there. See, 1, 2, 3, and now you can see we've got a nice edge, and we're going to start working this way. Let me pull some more yarn out. Alright, so single crocheting evenly along an edge of single crochet seems a little bit weird at first, but I will give you my formula, and I think it works pretty well. Okay, so there's 2 kinds of looks of stitches along this edge. There's one that I call like the circle, the hoop, and there's a V that consists of kind of 3 pieces of yarn, okay? So the first one we're going to go into is a V, and you're going to kind of turn it so it's looking up at the top and go through that. I like to grab one piece of yarn at a time sometimes, so I got under that one, and then we're going to go and stick our hook under the second one and do a single crochet in there, so that there's a piece of yarn, at least one piece of yarn underneath your single crochet. Otherwise you're grabbing that whole bit of stitch right there, and it's going to leave a bit more of a hole. So we're just going to make our single crochet, and the second type of stitch is the hoop, and it gives you a nice hole to go into, and then you're just doing that, alternating till you get to the very end. So the next one is that V. We're going to tilt it towards us, make sure we have our little bit of yarn underneath, and then finish our single crochet. So now we got the hoop. We like that one, it's easy. This one's a little bit more tricky, but you can do it. Just go ahead and do that all the way along. Just if you notice that it's cinching it a little bit, then you might want to pull back. You have too few stitches, and if you notice that it's starting to curl up, then you probably have too many stitches somewhere. We're almost to the end, kind of. Yeah, a little more than halfway. That's not almost, is it? All right, almost there. Okay, so we got a V and a hoop left, right? So this last one will go into the V, to our last single crochet. If you want to check, it should be 23 stitches along the edge, not counting those 3 stitches that you put in the corner, if you're following along on the written pattern. And so we're going to do the corner stitch. Let's see. I like to do my corner stitch by going into that first stitch. If you were to turn it, instead of going into the hoop right there, but if you want to put your 3 stitches right there, that's fine too. But I'm going to do it right here. So 1, 2, 3, And now we'll go 23 stitches along this way through both loops. Now here's the part where if you worked in the back loop, or the back bump, sorry, of your starting chain, then you'll have a V, almost like if you were to just be single crocheting over single crochet. But it's a little bit tighter, but it's still, in my humble opinion, better than if you were to just crochet into the one loop of your starting chain. This makes it a little bit more structurally sound and just easier to work into when you're doing a finishing round of single crochet. I suppose you could fast forward this part if you don't really, you get the gist and you want to get to the end part and figure out how to do the loop and slip stitches closed, but feel free to hang out and stitch with me. We're almost to the end. Okay, 2 stitches left. Hopefully you can see that. Goodness. Okay. 1. Okay, so here's that corner stitch. So we're going to put 3 right in there. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's get this bobby pin out of there. Don't really need you. Okay. So we're almost done. I just need to work along this side right here. And again, we're looking at some V's and some hoops, like we're single crocheting along an edge, but it looks only slightly different than the last side. Same idea though. It's a good counting guide. Come here, yarn. Okay. Got your 3 in your corner. The first stitch is going to be a V. It's kind of like tucked away. Oh, wait, no. The first stitch is going to be that hoop right there, because you have your 3 stitches right here. Let's go into that hoop. So 1, and then your second stitch is going to be a V. Wait a second. Don't do what I just said. Back up. Go into that V stitch. We're gonna make this guy right here our V, and see how there's a piece of yarn underneath it, so we're not making a big hole. And then the next one is going to be our hoop. See, it's a little trickier on this side. So now we just did our V. This is our hoop. Now you have to say that to yourself as a nice mantra. So we got a V, and a hoop. V, hoop, hoop. Don't split your yarn. Oh my. Ta-da! I'm sure you can relate. Split yarn is annoying. Cotton can be a little difficult with that too. Look at that. There we go. Just take your time. No need to rush. Almost there. See, I grabbed all 3 loops of that V, and you can see that it's made like a big hole. So we're going to back out of there and grab just the top 2 loops. I was being a little speedy. Now you can see there's a little bit. Just makes it look nicer. Hoop. V. Hoop. B. Let's count how many we have, because I think we might need to connect right there. So we have our 1, 2, 3 corner stitches, and then I'll count 23. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, yeah. So now we want to slip stitch right into that first stitch, that first single crochet that we made that you may or may not have a stitch marker in. We're going to slip stitch right in there. We're almost done. Okay, so at this point you need to decide whether or not you want to have a hanging loop for hanging your pot holder, obviously. If you do not want a pot holder loop, then you can leave yourself a tail of about 6 inches and fasten off and weave it in. You could also slip stitch around the edge if you wanted to. Totally not necessary, but just another little touch, and you're done, and it's awesome. If you feel like sending me pictures or tagging me on Instagram or whatever, I'm totally down for that. I love seeing other people's creations. So yeah, if you want a pot holder loop, here's what we are going to do. Let us slip stitch into this next stitch. Honestly, you guys, I'm not sure if this matches 100% the written pattern, if I am doing this the way that I wrote the pattern, which is kind of a long time ago, but this is the way that we'll do it now, and it will totally work. So I slip stitch into that corner stitch, and we're going to chain 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then slip stitch right back into the same stitch that you came from. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so right there, you could fasten off if you want to. I'm going to do the thing where you slip stitch all the way around, just to show you. If you don't want to, you could totally, I mean, you're just hanging a pot holder. This will totally hold as long as you weave that tail in nicely. But let's do this because it's kind of fun. I like it as a finishing touch on things that you don't want to stretch out totally too much. Okay, so we'll just do this. It'll be fun. if you don't want to do this, just fasten off. And thanks for joining me. And if you want to, you can like and subscribe and share your work on social media platforms by tagging Goddess Crochet. And thank you for following along. Take care. If not, stick around. Let's do this. All right, we're just literally slip stitching into all the stitches that we made, all the single crochets around the edge. Slip stitch is, you probably know what it is, but you go in, pull through, don't yarn over or anything, just keep on pulling through. Just keep on trucking. My goodness, should I stop the video, you guys, and just come back when I'm almost there? I mean, you could let it roll, but there's probably going to be like an advertisement popping up or something, and you'd be like, oh, son of a gun. Otherwise, you can let it roll. Let's see. Yeah, you can see already how it like has a nice distincting finish when you do the slip stitch. Like I said, you don't have to. It's not a big deal if you don't. No one is judging you, least of all me. If you don't have time for it, you don't have time for it. Maybe you have plenty of time for it. Maybe you are in the midst of a global pandemic and you're trying not to lose your mind. You can stitch a dishcloth. We laugh so we don't cry, right? Good talk. Alright, now when you get to the corners, I don't know if I said this, don't do a 3 in the corner, just keep going. All the way around, all the way around. Alright, you guys, I'm gonna, I'll stop the video. We're almost around to the other side, but maybe I could spare you guys another ad. Hang on. Okay, so we're almost done slip stitching all the way around. I've got a couple left to go before I get to the hanging loop. If you didn't do a hanging loop, then you can just slip stitch into the last couple of stitches. But there's a couple slip stitches right here where we slip stitch over, so we're gonna slip stitch into those slip stitches, which is kind of difficult. It's a little tight, but go ahead and get in there. Okay, and then right into the next one. Okay, pull through, and then that last slip stitch right into the hole of that stitch right there in between the loop. It's a great place to end. So we're going to pull through, leave your hook on for a second, grab your scissors, and we're going to fasten off right there. Leave yourself, you know, a good tail for weaving in, good 6 inches and cut. Okay, now through that loop that we made, we're gonna fasten off right there. Pull all the way through. Okay, so almost done. All we have to do is weave in the tails. If you are comfortable doing that by yourself, then have a nice day. Enjoy the sunshine and the rest of your night, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are watching, whenever you are watching. If you want to weave in the tails with me, stick around. It only takes kind of a minute. It is annoying. I do have to go grab my needle, so I will be right back. Okay, I'm back with my trusty bent tip needle. Don't remember exactly what brand it is. I think it's Susan Bates. Although this is a clover case. This is just how I keep all my needles. This is like an awesome screw top case. Okay, so we're gonna weave it in. My favorite way for getting that pesky yarn on the needle is twisting it whatever direction to the right. Maybe moisten it a little bit. You're like barely seeing it in your fingers, right? And you put the needle, let's see if we can get that in camera, huh? So you're pinching your fingers, you get the needle right over where the yarn is, and you just kind of push the needle down, and the yarn almost just like pops up through. I do it with thread too. You can fascinate people, it's like magic. You're not even looking. Okay, so we have our threaded yarn, and let's take a left out of this parking lot. Go through that loop right there, okay? We're going to turn around. Let's go down here. You see that? Okay. Now I like to make like a loop, a pass, just to kind of tighten the thing. So I'm going to go through the left leg of that stitch and the right leg of that stitch. So I'm kind of going through 2 stitches, and then we're going up. Let's go all the way up. Then we're going to go to the right. You might have to, there we go. And then down again. Okay. Now that is like super not going anywhere. And remember, if you've done the slip stitching, your loop isn't reliant on that little knot right there. So like you could cut it right there and you're probably going to be good. So let's do that. If you feel the need to weave in further, you totally could, but it's really not necessary. This is not a sweater that you like put 100 hours into. It should last you a while though. I have this scrap cloth that you can see it's like stained and stuff, but we use it all the time. So it's a good project for busting scraps if you don't mind weaving in a couple extra tails, because we all have those little bits of cotton yarn lying around if we've done houseware projects before. Okay, so again I'm like twisting my yarn a little bit, and then we're going to put that needle eye right over where the yarn is and push it into our fingers. It kind of pops up. So this is the other tail. We're essentially going to do the same thing that we did with that other tail. So this one kind of looks like it wants to pull. Let's see which way. We're going to pull it. Let's go up here, kind of into the corner. through the backs of those legs. And down. In this instance, it's kind of okay if you split the yarn. Sometimes I use a needle that's more sharper than this to purposely split the yarn. Let's see if you can see. Here's this other one I use sometimes. Not necessary in cotton. It's a little bit sticky, and if you do a good, you know, weaving in, then you shouldn't have a problem. I've had some washcloths last for years and years and years. Never see a tail. But I do weave them in pretty good. Just like I'm doing now. Let's see. Give a pull. I think this wants to be tightened a little bit more. So let us go down and to the right. I want to get right in there. Sure, that's good. And then I'm going to go back up. Come on now. I think I'll go down. So I see a nice loop path that I can follow. Alright, we're nearing the end, guys. If you are still with me, you're awesome. Thanks for hanging out and crocheting a dishcloth pot holder thing. Amazing. You just made something. Now you can keep it for yourself or give it away to friends who will enjoy it, who are knit-worthy / crochet-worthy. And if you're using a nice cotton, you toss it right in the wash and dry. I've washed and dried my pot holder so many times. I will throw them in with a load of towels and a very small amount of bleach if you want to get out, you know, nasty kitchen smells or whatever. But yeah, this is where we part ways, my friend. Thank you for joining me, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the pot holder video. And the best way to support me is sharing this content, obviously, liking, subscribing, and making the things. Right? Make the things and share your pictures with me, because that warms my heart. So thank you, friends. Enjoy your pot holder, and I will see you in another video.